Hello, everybody, and happy holidays. My gift to you today is to let you know exactly how many appointments you need to go on to make the amount of money you want to make in real estate next year. I'm going to make this real quick and simple for you. So we're going to run through the economic model. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's easy to use. Yes, is there a little wiggle room with it? Absolutely. But does it give you a very, very concise answer to exactly how many listing appointments and how many buyer appointments you need to go on in order to earn the money you want to earn? Now, a couple caveats. I make some assumptions with some numbers as we go through this. Obviously, if you have some different numbers or you think that the percentages are going to be a little bit different for you and your business, well, go ahead and change them. This is an example of a flow. Now, to get started, I'm going to use a net income of $100,000. Why did I pick that number? Because it makes it for easy math. But obviously, think about the type of money that you want to earn and not gross, right? That's the important part with this. This isn't the gross income that you're going to earn. This is the net. This is what you should be walking away with effectively as profit after you pay your expenses. So let's talk about those expenses first. So we're running a 30-30-40 model, meaning operating expense and cost of sales are both going to be 30% of our GCI and net income is going to be 40%. So with that example given, that means we have a $75,000 in each operating expense and cost of sale. Remember, splits can be cost of sale. Anything that has to be incurred because you did that sale, that's your cost of sale. Everything that's kind of ongoing, whether you sell a home or not, is operating expense. Cars, cell phones, things like that. So that means our total GCI is going to be $250,000. Now, we have to first get into how many units is that going to equate to for us? Well, we got to know one key piece of information, and you can look this up, is what is my average gross commission? And again, pre-split, right? Because cost of sale is going to take that split out. So it wouldn't make sense for me to take my split. Take that gross commission that you would earn, the true 2.5, 2.7, 3%, or whatever you charge your clients, whatever that amount is, that's how much you would end up putting here for your average commission amount. So let's just say, for example's sake, not setting any particular price, but let's say that an average commission amount is $7,500 for the purposes of this exercise. Well, that's going to come out to 33.3 repeating total units sold, when in reality, let's round it up, and that means that we need to sell 34 units based on that average commission around a $7,500 to hit a $250,000 GCI to end up with $100,000 in net income. But that's not quite where this is going. That was only half the equation. I know how many I have to sell, but we all know not every buyer I put under contract, not every seller I meet with at a first listing appointment ends up becoming a closing. So let's figure out that second part of it. So we know that 34 units is the amount, right? That's how many we're going to hit. But we have to figure out, am I buyer heavy? Am I listing heavy? What's the breakdown percentage? So obviously my percentage of listings versus my percentage of buyer side listings is going to be different, right? So I'm going to say that I'm higher. I take 70% of my business comes from buyers, and only 30% is going to come from listings. So I'm going to take 70% of 34, and let's just do that real quick on our handy dandy calculator. I wanted to do this sort of in real time with you. So let's do 34 multiplied by 0.7, and that's going to bring us to 23.8 or 24 units. So I know I need to sell 24 buyers. And obviously, if 34 units are total, 24 of them are buyers. How many listings does that leave us? I hope that the math was easy enough on that one. It's 10. And sorry, my zeros apparently doesn't look like a zero. So I know that I need to do sell 10 listings and have 24 buyers sold. But now we also know not every listing I take ends up becoming a sale. And not every buyer that I get a signed buyer agency agreement with becomes a closed transaction. So now let's really start to figure out, where we need to be here. So let's be on the sell side, right? Total percentage of sold conversion rate. So let's say that 80%, right? Let's say that 80% of the listings that I take actually become closed listings, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to do 10, which is the total seller listings sold, right? And I'm going to divide that now by 80%. So divide by 0.8, and you should get a bigger number. For us, this is 12.5. Again, always round up. Consistently round up in this exercise anytime you get a decimal. So if it's 12.5 is what the true valuation is, well, that means that I actually need to take 13 listings. That's saying I'm going to take 13 listings. 3 of them are not going to actually sell for whatever reason. Inspection issues, pulling it off the market, any number of reasons, right? Let's do the same thing on the buyer side. Now, I know that sell listings in this market are a little easier to sell, so I'm at 80%. But let's say that I'm not quite as good with my buyers, but let's say I'm still pretty good. Maybe let's say I'm actually a little bit closer to a 70%, right? So now I'm going to do my 24 divided by our 70%, which is 34.2. Again, round up. So we're going to make this 35 total buyer agency agreements, right? So that's how many agreements I need, and that's how many listing agreements I need. So I need 35 buyer agency agreements, and I need 13 seller listing agreements. Again, not every time I sit down for an appointment do I get the listing. But let's say that most of my listing business is very sphere-based. So let's say I'm actually at about another 80% clip. 4 out of every 5 that I'm going to sit into, I'm actually going to take that listing. So same thing, I'm going to take my 13, divide it again by 0.8, 16.25, round up, and we're going to be at 17 total seller appointments needed for the year in order to actually sell 10 of them. So on the buy side, again, I'm pretty good at my buyer consultations, but again, there's always buyers who are shopping. I'm going to say I'm a little bit less. I'm going to say I'm about 75% of my appointment conversion ratio for my buyers. 3 out of every 4 buyers that I do a buyer agency agreement session with or a buyer consult, they do sign an agreement with me. So that's great. So now I'm going to take my 35 total buyer agreements that I need, divided by that 75%, 46 repeating. So that becomes 47. So obviously, as I take my 47 plus my 17, probably don't need the calculator for this one, that gives me a total of 64 appointments. So as we slide back and as we come back to our first screen here, we decided how many appointments do I need to go on based on my average commission amounts, based on the average conversion that I have for different stages of the actual process. I have to go on 64 total appointments in 2025 in order to earn $100,000 in real estate. So you can do this for any sales field, really. Obviously, swap out some of the things for your industry for ours, but for our purposes, for real estate purposes, this is a backbone of a lot of agents pre-planning about where am I going to go and how much money do I need to make and how am I going to get there, yada, yada, yada. So the next stage of this is really going to become the lead generation model. And the lead gen model obviously leads you into, okay, if I need 64 appointments, where is that coming from? And what is my system to actually get it? And we'll tackle that next time. See y'all.